So, yeah, I don't know what's going on, if it's the cable or whatever, but yeah.
Cable guy.
No. Welcome, everyone, to the Dragoon's Lair podcast. I am the Blue Dragoon himself, Daniel the Dragon. We're not doing our normal pre-show chatter because we have a special guest today, so let me get the introductions out of the way early. We've got King Hamster Pellet himself, Mike Schiavo.
What's shaking, people?
We've got the family man, James Haynes.
Hello, everybody.
And with us today doing a tarot reading in honor of spooky season, Danielle Merivet Hernandez.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. So we're going to do a tarot reading for each of us in honor of the fact that we just watched the movie a couple episodes ago of Tarot. So I figured it'd be a nice little tie-in.
It's not going to be like the movie, guys. It's not going to be like
Damn it. I was kind of hoping for a...
Death card.
The jester.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
All right. So who do you want to start with?
Well, I'd like to ask if everyone here has had a reading before. Or
I have.
You have.
No.
You have, and this will be your first time. Well, thanks for joining. I understand you're a bit of a skeptic, which is welcome.
Okay.
Because cards don't care.
Yeah, right. Just like Vegas, they don't care.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again.
And Shiggles.
Cards are not here to predict anyone's future. What they do is show us what we are currently a match to. If we like it, cool, do what you're doing. If we don't like it, the choices we make dictate what happens in life. So take it with a grain of salt. If it resonates, wonderful. So would anyone like to elect to go first?
You know what? Let's start from Jimmy down and
Yeah, I was just ready to say, I'll go first.
Do you prefer James or Jimmy?
You can call me anything but late for dinner.
All right, my next question is, would you like me to select cards for you, or would you like to select them yourself?
Go right ahead.
Okay.
I have faith in the dealer.
Do you have any questions on your mind? No. You'd just like to see what the cards might have to say. Excellent. All right, then I want you to say to yourself, I make myself a match to the answer. Make myself a match to what the cards want me to know.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. So we're reading for James. Jimmy, he is here. He wants to know what the cards have in store for him. We're going to do 3. Oh, did I just get 3 come out, or is that more than 3? Oh, it's more than 3, but you know what? We're going to take it. We're going to take these 2 as the center. This is how we're going to roll. Past, present, future. This is a deck called the Shadow Light Tarot. It's entirely in black and white. It's by the Walking Canvas, and let's see what we've got. I'm going to turn them all over. Oh, I'm glad I took the 2, because how often do you get that together? Okay, marvelous. Where would you like me to flash the cards so you guys can see them?
camera's right there.
Towards you?
Yes.
How you doing? All right, so in the past position, we have the 5 of Pentacles. The 5 of Pentacles represents the feeling of being left out in the cold. If you look at this card, you're going to physically see people sort of wandering around. It's sort of a poverty mindset, or even like someone has cut you out of something that you worked really hard for. So when the 5 of Pentacles comes up, there is a need that is not being met. And that is right in the past position. Now, these 2 cards came out for you in the present. What we have here is like a mirror of cards. This is the Devil card. This is Major Arcana. Major Arcana means it's things along your life path, as opposed to these Pentacles, which is Minor Arcana. That's how we handle situations. And the second card is the Lovers. Now, the reason I say these are like mirror cards, if you look at them, there's 2 people in each. There's also some type of guardian or malevolent present in each. And they represent choices. Both of these cards represent choices. Devil energy, by the way, is not like Catholic devil. You can attribute that intensity to it, but what this card actually represents is sort of pitfalls or temptations, like really temptations, things that appear seductive, and so they can get their grip on you. Just like in this card, he physically has these 2 people sort of like puppets in chains, because the temptation is dictating what the person is doing. We can also attribute this to things like, and I don't want to put anything on you, but this is for anyone who's listening, pardon me, things like common habits that we get stuck in. It could be addictive behaviors. That could be substances, or that could just be like there's a person in your life who always knows how to play you, take advantage, and then leave you out in the cold. It can represent a sleuth of these things. But since it's come out with the Lovers card, Lovers represents choice. These two people are choosing each other. These two people are choosing to experience union, choosing to take actions that they know the other person feels received. They're receiving each other. So sure, we can look at it in a carnal way. In fact, both of these cards have a carnality to them. But the fact that these came out together, first of all, beautiful. But second of all, this is a very clear message that choose the loving choice. Choose what's going to feed you, what's going to nourish you, because I feel like you go above and beyond for the people you're surrounded by, and I don't feel you receiving that back. But that doesn't mean you can't receive it back. So consider what your actions may have been, both in the past and in the present, and then consider, is this the most loving choice for myself? And as you continue to do that, as you continue to do that, you will just line up more and more with people who do nourish you, with circumstances that are fulfilling for you. And now, this is what's currently lining up in your immediate future. This card is the Two of Swords. The Two of Swords represents choice. This person literally has a decision to make. Swords, by the way, represent thoughts, ideas, communication. They are the air realm. So it's two separate ideas that you have. It doesn't matter which one you choose, but you do have to choose, because until you do, you are blindfolded, you're not using your ideas or communicating your thoughts, and so that has you again in a standstill, which does remind me of this Devil card, which is a stuck feeling, a stuck energy. So your challenge is to start questioning what are loving choices for yourself. And when I feel like you know what this decision you have to make is, I don't know what it is. But you either know already or you're about to find out. You will think of this reading and be like, well, golly. So decide what's the loving choice for yourself. And I'm going to do one extra thing. Bottom of the deck. Oh, okay. The bottom of the deck here is the High Priestess. This represents your inner knowing, your intuition. It can also represent arcane knowledge or esoteric learning, but you have it within you already, and now it is your privilege to tap into it and see what happens next. That is your reading for today. Thank you for letting me read.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to give these cards another shuffle. Put them back in different places. Okay, thank you very much, cards. Oh, I've dropped my phone, but that's all right. We don't need it. Oh, I've dropped my phone just as it's going off. That's okay. I let them know I was going to be here. I'm going to finish my task. Stop. All right. Mike, are you ready for a reading?
Yeah, let's go.
To a reading. Okay.
Let's try it.
I don't want to force one on anyone, but since you're here, thanks for being here. Would you like to pull your cards, or would you like me to pull cards for you?
I'll do it.
All right, marvelous. One dropped. I'd like to see what that is. Justice. Great. There's gonna be some type of satisfying resolve in whatever this situation is. Okay. And since you'd like to pull your cards, I will. I want to get closer to you. Can I slide this?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna cut these in three. This deck wants to talk to you. It's the Magician. You have stuff, you have all the tools you need to work with. You can still pull your own cards, but when cards drop, this is to the audience now, always pull a card that drops, because that is the deck going, hey, pay attention. Hey, I want to tell you this. Okay. Listen, I appreciate it, but all right, this is the Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords is about maintaining your boundaries. She's known a little bit of an ice queen because she doesn't care how you feel about it. She knows what's got to happen. She knows what's right for herself in the circumstance. And again, swords. This is your thoughts, your ideas, your communication. So it's you wielding your ideas and your words in the way that you know you need to do for whatever the circumstance is. So this is what I'm going to do. reshuffle this deck because they are just dropping out of my hands. You're going to shuffle that deck, and then when you feel ready, please cut the deck into 3 piles.
While Mike's doing that, if you'd like to know more about Danielle, please email us at
dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. And make sure you follow Danielle on all of her socials, Danielle Marivet Hernandez, and you can even get your own reading.
You sure can. You can follow me. My tag is Des Marivet, DezMarivettE. All right, you've given me 3, so I'm going to take the top of each card. Are you ready? Boop. Interesting. Boop. Okay. So, we have 2 reversals and an upright. When cards are reversed, not everyone will read reversals, by the way, but I like to take them because it's another communication. When cards are reversed, typically it means there's a blocked energy or it wants you to pay extra attention to them. So we're going to do the same, past, present, future. I think it's funny because the first card in the past position is, again, justice, but now in reverse. And this was the first card that dropped for you, but upright.
Okay.
So whatever this circumstance was, there was not justice in the past. Maybe you feel like someone screwed you over. Maybe it's a legal battle. Justice can literally mean something with the law, something about a judge. I don't know. You will know. But whatever happened in the past, it was not fair to you and your circumstance, and it didn't feel like it worked out. Literally, where is the justice? Now, this card is the 4 of Pentacles. This one I don't mind seeing in the reverse because traditionally, when it's upright, the 4 of Pentacles is about holding on very tightly to what you have. And it is a bit frugal. Pentacles typically represent money and wealth, but they also represent our physical bodies, our health and strength. So, with it in reverse, it could be you have let go. It could be you have relaxed your hold on what this is. Conversely, again, only you will know, it could mean that because you haven't let it go, you aren't fully seeing the circumstance or all of the options available to you. I say that because in the immediate future, you have pulled the Ace of Swords. I like to call this the Excalibur card. 1, it's physically lodged in some stone here. 2, it is the beginning of something new, especially because this one's upright. So, a new beginning, a new idea is going to come to you, or you're going to have new communication in regards to whatever the circumstance is. I do feel they are related. When the Ace of Swords comes up, it's a reminder that you have knowledge, you have a strong basis for why this idea has come to you. Trust it. Only you can wield this sword. Only one person can pull the sword out of the stone, and it's you. And when this moment arises, just remember this moment, and remember there will be justice for you, because it was the first card that fell out, but upright. This, it's in the past. It's over now. It's done. This is your immediate future. This is what you're lining up with based on whatever you're doing right now. Go for it.
Cool.
I know that was a bit faster, but since you had other cards fall out before, you got a bit. All right. So I'm going to take my cards back, reshuffle my little babies. And Dan, would you like to pull your own cards, or would you like me to pull them for you?
I'm going to leave fate in your hands.
Let's see what they have to say. All right. So like I said before, especially since you won't be handling the deck in your hands, say to yourself or out loud and make myself a match to the answer or whatever the cards want me to know. Whoa, okay. Yep, it's all right. We've got 2 cards on the floor. I'm going to take them, and I'm going to take this guy right here. So these are reversals as well. How do I want to do this? I kind of want to put them opposite. I want to see what's here. Wow, let's discuss. These are all major arcana cards. These are all in reverse. And I flipped to the deck when I just shuffled right now to make sure they were all in the same thing. So, they're all upright because it makes it more important to me when reversals come out. So, in the past, you have the Hermit reversed. Typically, the hermit represents an intentional solitude, seeking knowledge that only you can find from within. When the hermit is in reverse, it's actually an instruction to seek a teacher outside of yourself, to not do it alone, to find help or support outside of yourself. This is, again, in the past position. So at some point, the recommendation from the universe was, hey, find somebody else with expertise in this thing that you're seeking. Now, in your present position, things are feeling, again, extremely unfair, extremely against you, and perhaps even targeted. I don't know if this has to do with work or with personal life. It could be both, but whatever is going on, it is like piling up, like a dog pile. It is, again, you seeking, like, where is the justice? Why are things not working out? We're going to have to ask why, because this is not telling me why. This is just telling me what's going on for you right now. And in this immediate future, you have the death card. Typically upright. Death is going to represent not exclusively a physical death, although we will not always rule that out. But death itself is a transformation. It is the changing of something. When death is in reverse, it is a stall in a change that does want to come through. Either you want to make a change but feel you can't, or a change has been offered and you're deliberating about whether you want to take this change, if it's going to be worth it. So this here is either you not making a decision, perhaps because you feel it won't work out for you, or because it hasn't worked out for you in the past. What's the point of trying now? But because death is here at all, there is a transformation. It's looking for you. You have to say, okay, I know there's a transformation looking for me. What can I do next? You can't do it all at once. Transformation doesn't happen all at once. But it is seeking you. Let's see what's at the bottom of the deck. Okay. It's not only seeking you, it's going to be a beautiful change. This is the Page of Cups. Cups represent our emotions, our emotional well-being, and how we handle our emotions. As we all know, not everyone handles emotions the same.
Well.
The Page of Cups is a very youthful energy, so it may come in the form of someone younger who you may not think actually has anything to offer. It may come in the form of someone with less experience in this topic that will surprise you. But the Page of Cups is one of the loveliest cards in the deck. You can even consider this in terms of yes and no, a big old yes. Do it. When it shows up, you'll know. I'm sure you already know what this is about. And when you trust that it's going to happen, that transformation will come through. Let's see what's right beneath the Page of Cups. It's the Six of Cups. The Six of Cups represents this feeling of nostalgia, of literally rosier times. Likely something in childhood that was a favored memory, but not exclusively. It is a looking back, though. It's looking back at when things were better, wondering when they're going to be better again. And because it's paired with this Page of Cups, whatever is being brought to you is going to match the feeling of this. Whatever this nostalgia is, it was fulfilling, it brought you joy, and you're being asked to take a leap of faith, essentially. It's up to you. As I knock this. All right, I have to conclude there. I must go. Other people need me.
Thank you very much for being here, and definitely great readings.
I hope they resonated with you guys, and do let me know as things go forward. Wheel of Fortune. Literally a new chapter, a new beginning, the closing out of an old cycle. Something new is going on for all of us. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is for me either. But it's coming. It's coming for all of us. And it's going to be better than we expect. I say that because, as we know, the emotional and mental climate is very fearful and angry right now, as the should be. It makes a lot of sense. But there's something wonderful coming in when we make ourselves vulnerable enough to explore that. I say that because now at the bottom of the deck is the Star card. She's a naked woman. This represents vulnerability. She's got one leg in the water, she's got one leg on the land. This represents physically being conscious of what the choices you're making are and what you're doing in your body, and the subconscious, what's going on beyond our physical bodies, what's going on beyond our what we know, those types of things. But also, guys, the star literally represents, like wish upon a star, a dream come true, something so positive you do not dare to believe it can happen because of all of the unfairness that has gone on. But it's there, it wants you to acknowledge it, even if you don't believe you can receive it, and let it surprise you. Let it surprise all of us.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
So while Danielle gets her stuff together and heads out, we want to thank her for being here. And also make sure you look for her on her socials, Des Maravet. And trust me, you will find a lot of great content. And,
It's been a while.
yep, but you can also get readings, and she has jewelry that you can also get from her.
Yes, I do tarot and talisman, so we can do a card reading, and then based on what your card reading is, we can make a talisman. Often in the case of jewelry, earrings, bracelets most likely. I find men and women prefer bracelets, but based on what it is, we can pick the stones, we can pick the design, pick the color. Talk to me and I'll talk to you. Thanks, guys, and I'll go now. Bye.
Take it easy. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your podcast.
We will. Thank you.
Well.
Thank you so much. All right. So as she makes her way out, we had a very interesting amount of nonsense going on because we've had so much stuff happening in the world of entertainment. And I don't know where to begin, but you know what? We've had PLEs and pay-per-views, if I'm not mistaken, with some retirement news as well. Bryan Danielson.
Oh.
So,
It's not really shocking that
not
he went out.
shocking, but still.
Yeah, like, you expected it to be a little bit later on down the road. But I guess the doctor said, hey, do it now or you're screwed. So he dropped the title, dropped it to Moxley, which
Got a bag over his head.
got a bag over his head for his troubles, which I think having him drop it to Moxley, I just think was the right way to go because honestly, not taking anything away from Darby Allin, not knocking him one bit, I just, at this point in time, I don't see him being a big enough character to carry the World Championship belt. I see him carrying maybe a trios belt or a tag belt, even like the international belt. I don't see him carrying the big belt at this point in time.
Okay. Well, one of the things is now also an interesting fact is Daniel Bryan has actually, his final matches at each one of the different phases of his career seems to have lost to former members of the Shield.
Yep.
So that very little interesting wrestling tidbit there. So Jimmy, what do you got for us wrestling wise?
Well, let's see. We had Bad Blood in Atlanta. We had the return of The Rock. How? Going 1, 2, 3. What does that mean? Well, Survivor Series is coming up, but they also have champions versus champions going on in Jihad for the Crown Jewel, which I agree with Danny, and I see Danny's face. Not for nothing, but that country needs to get. They need to go.
We gotta stop doing that, but that belt looks terrible.
What
The championship belt, the crown jewel title.
Get a load of
Why are they
diamonds.
usually calling it the champion belt?
It's the crown jewel title.
Yeah.
They're not calling it a champion.
No, but
Good.
it's champion versus champion to see who the best is.
I mean, look, they've done.
Isn't that what you get the heavyweight champion? Doesn't that mean you're the best?
Yes, but because we have a world champion
We have
and a universal champion, and now we're going to have them fight each other, and they're going to give them a bigger, gaudier belt, something that looks terrible.
Now, let's see how it goes.
Paul.
And it's going to and it's not just the men, it's the women are getting the same thing. And
Hey, I'm all for equality. If they want to make something ugly for men and women, knock yourself out.
Well, it's going to be ugly for men and women, but it's also going to be ugly because we're not going to get to see them in their regular ring gear or something special. It's going to be they're going to have to fight in unitards.
Yeah, well, Nia fits in fine with the unitard thing.
Thank God.
And everything. Yeah, I know.
I mean, no. Again,
I know.
Nia, not knocking you. I'm just saying some people look better fully clothed than naked. I'm one of them. You're one of them. I sympathize.
No. But, and then bring it back Raquel Rodriguez just to enlighten and expand this angle with Rhea Ripley has gotten a little bit too very interesting. Other than that, the pay-per-view, the premium live event, as they're now calling everything now, wasn't too bad though. It wasn't too bad. I mean, they had the one thing, if you caught it, they had that room upstairs, the executive room and everything with Jade and Bianca and Naomi hosting it. If you noticed, everybody who was up there about a half hour later, they were down in regular seats. So that's how funny it was. But otherwise, that is it, and let's see what else happens.
So, Mike, you want to take over and talk about any more AEW?
By the way, how was seriously the grand championship there over in Arthur Ashe?
Oh, Grand Slam?
Yeah.
That's pretty damn good. You go to an AEW show, especially one like Grand Slam, you get your money's worth. I paid 2 tickets. I think I paid $100 for 2 of them. The seats that I had, I saw the entire ring. Only thing I missed out on was because where the angle was, where we were sitting. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see them walking out of the tunnel. That part was covered.
All right. That's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little stuff that happened at the entrance, like at the top of the ramp, and we were like, put them on the screen so everybody else can see. But other than that, I saw the entire ring. Didn't have a problem with it. I only stayed for Dynamite because I worked during the day and I had to go to work the next day, and I wasn't about to sit through 5 hours of wrestling. But it was, you definitely got your money's worth. You got Ring of Honor, you got Dynamite, and you got Collision or Rampage, whichever one's on Fridays, and it was a good show. Doesn't disappoint. If you have a chance to go catch an AEW show live, go for it.
Next one is Livewire in Jersey, I think.
No, Full Gear.
Full Gear.
Yes, which I shall be in.
I get the two of them mixed.
Yeah, and now that's the thing. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the wrestling world. They're doing a lot of things, and WWE decided all of their PLEs are going to be 5 matches only. Which I'm okay with, but it's also a different tonal shift when Raw has now just gone to 2 hours. The first episode of a 2-hour Raw was very slow. The timing was not there, but they did fix that in the most recent Raw on recording this, that it did pick up the pace, where SmackDown can do it in 2 hours. Raw had a little bit of a timing issue trying to figure it out again. But it's going to give people more days off, more chances to actually go and not just heal, but also different people get different TV time. So it's probably for the best at this point before the Netflix move, which I'm interested to see how that one's going to work out. But we do have some anime news. The new anime fall season started already. So in the movie theaters right now, they released the 4th My Hero Academia movie, You're Next. I got to see that in the theaters recently. It's not as good as like the first 2, but it's still good. I would probably put it on caliber with the 3rd movie, which was a little forgettable, but while you're watching it, it was still a fun movie. So there was that, and then keeping with our spooky season theme, there's an anime that came out, Dan to Dan. I'm not even making up that title.
Dan to Dan, Dan, Dan.
Pretty much, but no, Dan to Dan, the first 2 episodes that I was watching, It is one of the weirdest love stories ever. Yes, because within the first episode, the main female lead, basically her grandmother's a psychic, so she's a medium. So she believes in ghosts. She meets a guy who doesn't believe in ghosts, but believes in aliens. So they challenge each other to go to different locations. He wants to see if she gets abducted, and she'll have to believe in aliens, where she sends him to a haunted location where if he sees a ghost, he has to believe in that, admit it. And yeah, he finds a ghost that curses him, known as Turbo Granny, who wants to eat your dong.
The fuck are you watching?
Yes. Meanwhile, she gets abducted by aliens that don't particularly they don't like men. They like women because they're clones. So they're basically going and they need human reproductive organs to try to stop just being all clones and being the same. Weirdest thing for the first episode. Yeah. Listen, Turbo Granny was probably one of the funniest ghosts I've ever seen.
I'm afraid to ask, what does Turbo Granny look like?
Very red, like decrepit, crazy, like yellow eyes with like multiple circle rings in there. She possesses him with like so crazy like hair and is like walking Bray Wyatt style, like for the crawl. Yeah, it's one of those things where, and it's supposed to be a love story. So yeah, it's a romance mixed in there somehow. But Turbo Granny really stole the entire thing for me with that, just because the girl's grandmother being a medium actually makes her like have like chi abilities to suppress Turbo Granny. And it's like they have to get his dong back from Turbo Granny to break the curse. And I find it hilarious that I have to say Turbo Granny because that is what the ghost is called.
And you break my balls with the shit I watch.
I'm going to break your balls for shit you watch because the shit you watch is American. I'm at least watching something from a country that has a legitimate excuse for having crazy shit because we dropped the sun on them twice. Not once, but twice. That's going to screw anybody up.
That is true.
We went overkill.
Listen, thanks to you and your little tidbits on, I think it's TikTok or Facebook Messenger, I've been seeing Vicious.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, that is hysterical. We're already into season 2.
Yeah.
That is good. My compliments to you.
So there's a lot of stuff, and the new fall season of anime isn't as action-packed for a lot of things. It seems like there's more romance stuff going on, but we've got more stuff to look forward to. Some seasons are continuing, but it's definitely a season to start checking some stuff out. And one of the big things, though, to check out is Bleach, 1,000 Year Blood War arc. Their season 3 returned on Disney Plus and Hulu. It's not, the dubs always take forever with them, but we also have one of the last projects Akira Toriyama worked on, which is Dragon Ball Daima. And that is now what I would consider to be a better replacement for GT, with only one episode being out at the time of recording this. And the final wish that was made at the ending of the episode is to turn all of the characters from Dragon Ball Z back into children, and if they're already children, turn them into babies. And I want to see where this is going because Akira Toriyama created Dragon Ball and created like such a force within the world, because you can't really go almost anywhere without Dragon Ball being known. So this is definitely one to check out, along with the Bleach 1,000 Year Blood War arc season 3.
And remember, what is the email to ask you on all anime questions, Dan?
That would be dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. All one word, Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. Now,
also, by the way, just for all
what you got?
animated fans, Me Tunes is on Spectrum.
And what channel is that?
1296, right above TBD, where you can watch Whose Line and SNL and Key and Peele.
And that's probably only New York Spectrum, I'm going to
Yeah.
assume, because it's probably going to be somewhere in a different region on a different channel.
Yes.
So, yeah. So at least there's an option to watch MeTV Tunes.
And it's finally here, and you don't have to pay for it on Friendly.
Yeah, because otherwise you need to pay for the Friendly app. That didn't seem like much. I think, what was
that's
it?
not Friendly.
Like, what, about $5?
Yeah.
$8, $7.99.
All right, still.
And it'll go up, down.
You know what? It's still cheaper than going and paying for the Disney Plus, Hulu, or even Netflix at this point, which they jacked up their prices. So, since everybody's jacking up their prices, an affordable like streaming platform of things that are a little more classic, hey, it's a decent way to go. Yeah. So now there's been a little dissension among the ranks of us here because, frankly, I didn't want to talk about this movie. Really didn't. But Mike pushed and pushed, so he got his way.
Okay, by saying we should do the Blair Witch, bringing it up last time we recorded, and you saying fine as long as it's somewhere in the stream, that's pushing?
I know, because our conversation afterwards, which I sent you the text message telling you that if you think we can, all three of us, talk about this movie and not shit on it the entire time.
Well, anything I bring up, you're going to shit on, so.
No. You've brought up some interesting stuff in the past. This one, though, is, I consider to be probably one of the laziest forms of filmmaking ever made.
How?
You have your actors doing all the work. You're having them improv. You didn't come up with a story. You just came up with, here's a few scenes and throw things together. It's lazy filmmaking. Found film footage has become one of the laziest forms of filmmaking I've ever come across. And the fact that you have a page front and back, because you're going to try to defend yourself this entire time.
Yeah. Where is Judge Judy? Judge
So
Upton.
I'm going to go and I'm going to turn over this movie to you so you can go and rant and rave about something that is going to probably drive the algorithm down for us and get us less listeners. So if this actually gets us more listeners, I will go and I will make an on-air apology. That's if it can get us more listeners. If our listenership goes up, and I'm saying this right now, if you guys will go and give us more listeners, more subscribers, the count goes up on our Instagram and our Facebook page, I will apologize to Mike and actually mean it. And I will do this on air so he will have video proof that I've apologized to him, which he knows is something I never do. Mm-hmm. So I'm giving it over to you. So talk about the Blair shit project.
Folks, if you have to go to the bathroom, go now.
And just remind me, what did you bring up? What was your idea that you wanted to do?
Salem's Lot. Mm-hmm. The remake.
Anyway, so now, as they about to shit on what I'm about to say and make stupid faces at me, let's go back to 1999, okay? The Blair Witch Project. It was released July 30th. The director and the writers were Eduardo Sanchez and Daniel M. Myrick.
If you can call them writers.
Give me a second, okay? Commercially, do you think this movie was a success, yes or no?
No.
Really?
Yep.
And what made you say it's not a commercial success?
Because they ruined their entire marketing plan the week the movie was coming out.
Okay.
Because you're selling this as real life events at a time when the internet was still new. You didn't have Google. You didn't have ways to fact check and see if this was all like legit or not. So we were taking the internet at face value at that time. What did they do? The week the movie's coming out, they had me believing that this was legit. And then what did they do? The actors are on every single talk show promoting the movie, which should have waited 2 weeks into its run, because now I did not buy into it because I've already seen that they're actors. You're trying to tell me that this is legitimate filmmakers that got lost out there in the woods.
Now, that wasn't, because in the research that I did, okay, that wasn't the writer and director's plan. They premiered it at Cannes, okay? 2 hours after it premiered, Artisan bought the rights for $1 million. And then they were the ones who put everybody out there, do the press tours, do this, do that. So you can't shit on the writers for that. You can't shit on the directors for that. Okay, and getting back to just some of the numbers. It was made for $60,000. Okay, do you know how much it made domestic and worldwide total?
No, but I'm sure you're going to tell me.
$248.6 million. So if you look at it number-wise, you say the Blair Witch Project was a commercial success because it made its money back and then some. Okay? So it made its money back. Out of all the movies that were released in 99, this movie was in the top 20. It came in at number 15. Beat out Phantom Menace, beat out a bunch of other films. Okay, so this came in at number 15.
Beat out the Phantom Menace. That's really saying a lot.
Well, you know what? You take a franchise like Star Wars, okay, and say, okay, we're going to go back and tell you how everybody that you know came to be, okay, before, guaranteed, everybody like, oh, shit, let's go see it. Okay? So, there you go. So now...
And what week run was the Phantom Menace in at that point?
I don't know.
Wasn't it Memorial Day?
It came out on Memorial Day weekend, so that did have a massive amount of people going to the theaters. By the time the Blair Witch Project came out, the Phantom Menace was already made its money. It was on its last legs and dying at the theaters. So it's hard to compare it to something that was already out in the theaters and was out for months before.
Yes, but the number 15 was everything that came out in 99, not going by release dates. Okay? So now, this story of the Blair Witch. These guys, the writer and directors, they made up everything. Okay? There wasn't a piece of this story that was true. Maybe the only part of the true story was the town of Burkittsville, because that really exists. Blair, made up. Coffin Rock, made up. Everything else was made up. These guys went to town on this thing. Okay, they came up with everything. The story, the plot, the whole 9 yards. Okay, so now let's get into the story of found footage. May not be a fan of it, but at the time, this was really the first film that dabbled in the found footage genre. So you had 3 filmmakers, Heather, Mike, and Josh. They go on location to research the curse of the Blair Witch, which was back in 18 or 16, whatever. A town was cursed by the Blair Witch, and in the 60s, a maniac by the name of Rustin Parr kidnapped 7 kids, killed them. And when they arrested Rustin, he said he heard voices of a witch telling him to do this. So the 3 of them interview some people in the town. They go into the woods to try to find evidence. And things start going sideways really fast. They come across little stick figure men, which were supposedly left by the witch. Shit goes downhill after that. They're trying to find their way out of the woods. They end up just walking around in big circles. And each night, crazier and crazier stuff happens. Where at one point, one of the group, Josh, just disappears. Don't know what happened to him. The next morning, they find another one of those stick figure guys wrapped up with pieces of clothing from Josh. Heather opens it. Turns out to be Josh's teeth in there. Because you see something really quick. They freak out. Movie goes on. The following night, they hear Josh screaming. So the 2 that are left, Michael and Heather, they're running through the woods trying to find Josh. Then they find an abandoned house in the woods, which is what you would do. Of course, you run in. You're chased by a witch, and that's what happens. So now you run in. They see little muddy handprints all over the walls, which is supposed to be where the 7 kids got killed in the 60s. Heather and Mike get split up. Heather hears Mike in the basement. She runs downstairs. She sees Mike face in the corner. All of a sudden, something hits Heather in the back of the head, drops the camera. That's how the movie ends. Now, you never see the witch. I enjoy it because it allows the viewer to fill in the blanks. They put the idea in your head that all this stuff is supernatural, and since everything is handheld footage, everything is bouncing around. So as everything is bouncing around, you're trying to make sense of what you're seeing and what you're hearing at the same time. So in your mind's eye, you say, oh, I think I saw a glimpse of the witch over there. I think I saw a glimpse of the witch over here. Okay? It's a lot of that, and it fills it in. Now, if you're a fan of the Paranormal Activity movies, I don't think you'll have those movies if you didn't have the Blair Witch, because it's kind of following the same format. Instead of saying found footage, it's, okay, nanny cam footage. It's all these cameras set up around the house to watch something happen supposedly live. So, in my opinion, the Blair Witch really worked. Now, like I said, when this was released in '99, weren't a lot of films out there that was like it. It told a suspenseful story.
Suspenseless story? Yep, suspenseless story, folks. Suspenseless.
And if you know the meaning to that word, you can email us at
dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's 3. Go ahead. Go ahead. Suspenseless. He's broken.
No, I'm not broken. I'm just
Stewing.
What made this film scary? When you sit back and think about it, it wasn't really a horror film. You can't put this in the horror genre. You could put it in the suspense genre. Because, again, you don't really see anything. It's left up to the viewer's imagination.
Mike, come on.
Come on, Mike.
No, Mike, stop. Mike. Well, folks, it looks like we lost Mike. Couldn't cut it. We'll be right back after a few moments from these sponsors. No. All right. Sorry, Mike. Took it too far. I'm sorry, all right? So, go ahead.
So now, like I was saying before, I don't put this in the horror genre. I put it in the suspense genre. Because to me, what makes a horror movie is you see the villain. You see the carnage that they leave. You see the monster. In this film, you don't see the carnage. You don't see the monster. So I stick this more in the suspense end of things, which works.
Listen, to me, it's not a horror movie at all.
Right.
Because of not because you don't see the monster, because of the fact that you don't see, you can't tell if anybody actually dies or not. To me, this is the equivalent of April Fool's Day, where it's like by the end of it, it's like everyone's alive, and you know everyone's alive because of their marketing campaign.
Right. But you think about it, okay? If this was real, okay, if these 3 people really did die, do you think they would actually stick the movie out there like that?
You know what? In the early days, I think they probably would have.
See, I don't. And
that's why there's an entire genre called snuff films.
And this goes to the going into the realm of suspension of disbelief. You go into the movies to suspend your belief of reality. You sit there for the hour and a half to 2 hours, 4 hours if you're watching a Peter Jackson film.
which is true.
Yeah, that's fair. That one's fair. Especially with the multiple endings.
Yes.
So,
but that's what you do. You go in there with the suspension of disbelief. You're disbelieving. You're putting everything that you know is real and you're sticking it on hold for however long you're in there for. This movie, I don't categorize it as horror. I do it as suspense because you don't see the villain. You don't see the carnage. You're left to your own imagination to fill in the blanks, which worked. And if you want to go back a little bit further, let's go back to Jaws. Okay? You don't see the shark until the last 20, 25 minutes of the film, but you as the viewer have to fill in the blanks of what's going on.
But at least you get the shark.
Right, you get the shark, but for that movie, it worked. For this movie, I think if you would have seen The Witch, it would have taken away. It would have taken more away from it. Here, it's suspenseful because you don't see it. You don't know what's going to happen next. Lack of music in the film. Okay, usually when something's going to happen, the music picks up. Something like that happens. There's no music in this.
Yeah, but you have to also remember, too, with this, you're selling it as found footage. So you can't put music in there because you're trying to make it seem more like a documentary style.
Right.
But the problem with that is not having music put audience members to sleep. The shaky cam made people nauseous. It's the same thing that happened with Cloverfield. Cloverfield, you saw the monster. But at the same time, and you saw all the little creatures that were falling off of it, but people got dizzy. They got nauseous. The camera jumping around the entire time because it's not steady at all is jarring to people. It may seem like it's interesting, but at the same time, it's like you can't do 3D movies and you're getting dizzy because you got to wear the 3D glasses or using the VR goggles. It's not something that works.
I'm not saying every aspect of this film worked. I'm not saying that.
I fell asleep watching this movie, and then when I went to watch the third installment.
That was the remake or the one where they go looking for...
Where they go looking for Heather.
Okay.
Because the second one they did as an actual movie where it was, hey, here's the tour guide and a bunch of the crazy people, and eventually people start getting killed. But the third one was supposedly Heather's brother and a bunch of his friends going off, and they're using drones and everything. They basically redid the same movie. I tried to rewatch this for that. I fell asleep. I fell asleep through both of them. The second one I can actually watch because it's more like a movie. I've watched a bunch of documentary style movies. I've seen found footage movies before. That's why I said I find found footage movies to be lazy filmmaking. There doesn't take a lot to write a found footage movie. That's why my opinion on this movie is it is not a good movie. It's there. It deserves its place for its marketing. But when they screwed up the marketing by going and taking everything the week the movie's coming out and having the actors on every talk show promoting the movie, it dragged down the quality. It may have done well at a film festival. And film festivals are where you're going to see the more experimental stuff. Let's face it, you took film classes at CSI. Mm-hmm. And what did they try to push? They tried to push experimental filmmaking, art house filmmaking. I'm not somebody who's into that. And I'm honest about that. I like something that's going to be marketable. Do I watch crap? Absolutely. I'll watch a low-budget bad movie. But sometimes it's so bad it's good. This one, I have a hard time even processing that into the category of so bad it's good. It's not even there. It's not The Room. I understand why you like it, and you've got a lot of great points on the movie and its background. But to me personally, it's not a movie I want to revisit. It's never been one to revisit. And I own it on DVD because I bought the box set of 1 and 2 because it also came with a bunch of video games. It was great marketing.
They made video games out of that?
For the PC.
Really?
Yep. There was like a 3-parter. I don't know if I still have them or not, but then again, I don't even think they'll run on a PC anymore because I think it was still when they were using Windows 97.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it can't be 97, it has to be 99. or Windows.
No, they were
came
still
out in 99.
Yeah, but they were still running Windows 7. So that's when it was still like DOS, when you could still play games and everything using DOS. You can tell exactly how old I am by me having to say that.
and we understood that too.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where we had the games. It was an interesting concept, but the problem is the execution, I feel, fell short.
I mean, okay, fine. You think it fell short. I mean,
I'm not discrediting
Right,
you.
I'm not saying-
Listen, I bust your balls on a lot of shit.
No shit.
But the thing is, I legitimately fell asleep during this movie more than once. Seeing it in the theaters, I watched people get up and leave. I remember all the hype being there in the theaters with people who were expecting this to be great, and you could see people leaving because they were actually getting nauseous. People were running to the bathroom to go throw up.
See, I remember watching this movie when it came out in the theaters. Me and a few people that I worked with, we walked across the street. We went to the movies down in Travis.
When there was a movie theater there.
Yes. And
Was that Fun Bubble?
yeah, me and the Fun Bubble crew, we were like, fuck it. We closed at like 9 o'clock. We didn't want to go home. We went to see like the 9:30, 10 o'clock show. And we were in there and we were like, okay, we saw some of the commercials for it. And when we got there, we were like, all right, let's just see what happens. And I remember at the end of the movie, at first I felt like, was that it? I didn't want to say I felt cheated or I felt gypped. I was just like, okay. But going back and processing everything, I was like, that is a decent independent film. I went out, I got it on VHS, and I got the combo where it was the Blair Witch and the Curses of Blair Witch, where supposedly they went back.
So you got the behind the scenes.
I got the behind the scene footage, and like I said, when I was doing the research on the film, all the behind the scene footage, all the backstory, everything else, because when it said, they made it real. They made it look like this stuff actually happened, but those guys are a hell of a storyteller because they made up every little detail.
And listen, the lore that they came up with was interesting until you can fact check it. And like I said, when they first came out with this, they put out all the websites. They made a bunch of them that were fake sites gave you this backstory. I was sold on it until they went and they go and you see all three of the actors, because now they're also getting other roles. So they're promoting that they're in this movie, where if they would have waited 2 weeks, that was where the failure for me really was, because I was completely taken out of any believability. I wish I could say I believed it walking in there, but once I saw that you had the actors on all different talk shows, and this was before, not even the current talk show hosts we have. You figure they were on Letterman, Leno, and Conan O'Brien. You had the three big ones. And what did they do? They were there. They're there before the movie's even in the theater. And I saw it on opening weekend. And I was taken out of the experience by knowing that it's like, oh, I like the fact that it gave me that illusion early on. That's what sold me on the hype. But once I knew that it's like the actors are pushing it, I was out. But then again, I can say the same thing about listening to, and Jimmy knows it. We went film classes. Everyone was talking about Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, hyping that monstrosity up over and over again. And you know what? The actors did everything they could. And I have to agree with what was said in the past multiple times. George, you can write this shit, but you can't read it. You're trying to act out a bunch of stuff that seems completely implausible. By the time I saw The Phantom Menace, I was in a theater of only 7 people. So that should tell you, it's like I waited for the hype to die down. I like when the hype is there. The hype for me on this one was high on the Blair Witch, and it did not meet my expectations. And yeah, Jaws is a great comparison but at the same time, you still get to see the shark.
Right. But I was just saying, when you didn't see the shark, okay, perfect example. The pier scene when the two guys are going fishing. They're hunting for the shark. They throw the roast beef in and takes it out. It rips part of the dock off. The guy falls in the water. He goes for a ride. Okay. All of a sudden, you see the part of the pier turn around and start heading back. Okay. Is that scarier if you would have seen the shark, or the way it was?
Well, that's the thing, though. You're trying to sell a supernatural being of the Blair Witch versus a natural predator, where a shark, we're scared of the ocean, and most people are afraid of water in the ocean because of the fact that we don't know what's under the water.
Right.
That's why when you go to the beach now and someone screams shark, they shut down the beach because everyone's afraid, and a good chunk of that was because of Jaws.
Right. But if you go camping, let's say you go first time camping, all right? You're out in the woods.
And I've done that.
Yeah, there's no witch or anything out there, but if this is the first time you ever gone camping, you're in the middle of the woods, okay? You're hearing all the sounds of the animals, and you're like, okay, the fuck is going on? Okay? Because it is just human nature to get scared. You can't see what's in front of you. There's no lights outside. You hear something. Oh, I know it's a rabbit or it's a deer or something. But if someone says something, or if your mind goes to movies or whatever, like, oh, wait a minute, that could be something different. And that is what helped make the Blair Witch, in my opinion, scary.
And like I said, I'm not taking anything away from your opinion. Your opinion is your opinion.
Right.
And like I told you, I don't want to be the guy shitting on the movie the entire time, which is what I've become for this episode.
I mean, are there parts in it where it could have been done better? Absolutely. Absolutely. At the points, the shaky cam, okay, they could have had a steady cam on them. It could have been done better.
Yeah.
Parts of it could have been done better. But in the action sequence, since you don't see the witch, I think it makes it scarier because you're watching it.
What action sequence?
When they're running around.
The entire thing was them moving around. That's why it's hard for me to lock down an action sequence, because they're walking through the woods. Fuck. Bilbo walks through the woods for how long?
At night, when supposedly everything is happening. Okay?
Yeah.
They're running around. And the only light they have is the little flashlights and the IR on a camera. So that is, quote unquote, the action sequence.
Yeah, and the night vision of everything being in green. You know what? If you look back at it now, all you think is the alien look of Paris Hilton from her sex tape.
Mm-hmm. Right. But again,
like I said,
now and then.
Like I said, I'm not taking anything away from your opinion. Mm-hmm. I just don't like being the guy that shits on everything. That was one of the hardest things I had to do when taking film classes, was they're teaching you how to identify different shots, different angles. When you start doing that, because they give you those assignments, and Jimmy, Mike, and they sit there and what do? They want you to count the shots. See how many shots are in a scene. You have to deprogram yourself just to be able to watch a movie and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. When the Blair Witch Project came out, I was in film school. So were you.
Yep.
We were both in college, and that was one of the things I had to retrain myself. And that was not a movie to retrain myself on.
No, not at all.
And I live off of horror movies. Throughout my entire, I didn't watch anime really through high school. I was watching horror movies. I'd be at Blockbuster renting multiple horror movies, coming home, bringing them back the next day, and watching more the next day. I love watching horror movies. This was one that I couldn't get into.
Again, I wouldn't call it horror. I would call it suspense.
Problem is, it's not classified as suspense. That's the worst part about this. If you called this a suspense movie, maybe it would have been different. But the fact that it was marketed as a horror movie, and you would still, if there were DVDs still around, you would find it in the horror section. But then again, Alien is a horror movie, but it's also a sci-fi movie.
Right.
So the problem is there's no cross-section for something like this. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm not a fan. Found footage, how many movies came out after this for found footage?
But they were the trendsetters.
And they may have started a trend, but sometimes is the trend worth starting?
Okay,
Because you can say the same thing about the real world. Started off reality TV, but look at where that
went- yeah.
trend has gone.
right, it went overboard. There's no more reality in reality TV.
There's no more MTV, thanks.
There's no more MTV.
Yeah, Jimmy, you got to get closer to the mic. 'Cause-
There's more real.
yeah,
Right. I mean, and I what killed quote reality TV? My opinion, the Osbournes.
that was part of it, but
yeah.
some people would claim it's the Jersey Shore.
That too.
Other people would claim that it's all these different real housewives.
Who
Or
cares?
even the cooking show.
Yeah, and
Well, I like some of the cooking shows
you know what though? The cooking shows are a whole different thing.
because at least they give you information, like on
You're getting recipes.
Yes.
You're seeing how they're making
Yes.
stuff.
The restaurant stakeouts and all that, from what I heard when they were on the island, they were filmed, but they were planned.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the thing. There's
That's
going to
the worst
always
thing.
be some kind of planning to get drama. The real world didn't have that, though.
Right.
They just left a bunch of people together and were recording it, which was a great concept. And the funny thing was, the internet had that exact same concept where the adult entertainment industry started doing that, where they would have the houses with the webcams in.
Yep.
But that was at a point when you were still on dial-up. It took forever for things to load, and you were still being charged an arm and a leg probably for it. Because I didn't have them, but I remember people going and logging into them. And it was an interesting concept.
Yeah.
But there is no reality anymore.
No, not at all.
Found footage was interesting to start, and it's over. It's done with. People have driven it into the ground. So I'll give you credit for that. It was something that started off
it started off a good idea that people just again drove it into the ground.
But the problem was, like I said, it's also a form, and the reason why they were able to run it into the ground, the same way that sitcoms have virtually died because of reality television. It's easier to go and just, hey, here's some cameras, here, we're going to give you some improv clips to do, and that's what we're going to have you do. And not for nothing, that is all they really do at this point, that was the Blair Witch Project. We're going to leave you guys a cache of more videos, tapes, more batteries, and here's some cue cards for each one of you for plot points to hit. That was it. It was all improv. That's why when you say the writer, it's like they wrote the backstory to it, but it was more of an improv movie.
But they also gave them, I was watching, getting the information on it. At each point, they gave them GPS. Yes, you had a map, but they also gave them GPS.
So they could get to the caches
get to the next point. And they were like, and they wrote, seeing that this is what's going to happen. And they gave each person their own little specific thing to do. This is what we want. Go do it.
But once again, you're giving them direction, but you're not giving them a script. You've written scripts.
Yes.
So you understand the difference, because giving people the ability to improv is not the same thing as giving them a script. You look at whose line is it anyway? You're going and you're giving them an idea. Here's a topic. Improv that.
Yes.
That's what they did for the Blair Witch Project. It was primarily improv. They knew who their characters were beforehand because they told them, this is who you are, this is what we want you to do. It's a limited scope.
I think it's more difficult coming from an actor's point of view to do that, to improv an entire film. It's more difficult to do that.
And I give the actors credit.
Yes.
But I don't want to give the writer too much credit because the writer didn't really write a full script. They wrote a backstory. That's something you can do if you're writing a book or a novel. You need to have the ideas, the layout, everything. Tolkien did that. That's why why we have the Silmarillion. That's why there's two different versions of The Hobbit. Because when The Hobbit originally came out, the One Ring wasn't a thing. It was just a ring that made invisibility possible. You look shocked that you didn't
Yeah,
know.
I didn't know that. I didn't know there was two different versions of it.
Yeah, when it initially came out, the whole thing with Gollum was like, oh, it wasn't like, oh, he was completely outraged because he lost the ring and everything. No, it was a ring of invisibility that it just became a tool. It wasn't the One Ring until they pushed for more books. And they came out with the Silmarillion, came out with all like the unfinished tales, but Lord of the Rings was where he had to go back and fix that. That's where Tolkien's whole thing was, when you look at the first version of The Hobbit, that was the story Bilbo told everyone.
Right.
The rewrite was what actually happened. So that's where there's a deviation. Writers have different tricks, and you know that better than anybody else because you've written a whole bunch of different scripts. So you should know. But and I'm giving you a lot of credit here.
Thank you.
It's one of those things where you and I have worked on projects. We let the actors try different things in another take, but we still try to get that first take with the dialogue.
Yeah, that's the way I direct. Do one take the way I've written it. Do one take the way you want, and I see which one I like better.
Yeah, and we had that with Comic Book Jones the movie, where Sacco and Chris,
they were hysterical.
Every take was different.
Yes,
and it worked. But that's what the Blair Witch Project was. It was all improv, but some of it really didn't work.
I'm not saying it was 100% outstanding movie.
Listen, I'm not going to call it a great movie. I'm not going to call it a terrible movie.
I call it a good movie.
Yeah.
I call it a good movie.
But what I'm calling it is lazy filmmaking.
Okay.
And that's a critique on the film itself and the filmmakers, because they came up with a concept that it was the least expensive way to make a movie. You could do that. Listen, during COVID, how many people came up with movies where they're sitting there and, let's face it, Unfriended, Unfriended 2, Dark or whatever. Those movies were all, hey, we're all sitting in front of like the camera and we're in front of the computer. They didn't have to change locations. They didn't have to do a lot. So they found even lazier ways of doing stuff. It's just, to me, it was lazy filmmaking, and it was able to lose my interest the second that they broke that the story wasn't the mythical thing that they made it out to be.
Okay. I mean, again, that's your opinion. I happen to enjoy the film.
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't see them on all the talk shows. Okay? I just saw, the previews for it, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Walking into it, I'm like, okay, they're not going to show, 3 people getting killed. You knew it off the bat. But that's when you say, okay, let me click off Reason and just sit down and enjoy the film. And that, for me, I knew they were still alive. But turn off Reason, sit down, enjoy the film for an hour and a half.
And the problem was I couldn't suspend the disbelief.
Okay.
And I can suspend the disbelief on a lot of things. And that
Turbo
was...
Granny.
Yeah.
With that Turbo Granny, that's her name?
Yep.
Turbo Nana, whatever the fuck.
Turbo Granny.
Turbo Granny, yeah.
Yeah. Where she's going to eat your dong.
Dong, da, dong, dong, dong.
Anyway.
Listen,
Dun, dun.
like I said, I watch crazy shit. But at the same time, there is a suspension of disbelief. But watching an anime is a different thing than watching a live action movie where you're told that the story is like real and has a basis in reality. You're selling me on that concept, and then you fall flat. Like you said, in your research, at the film festivals, it did well.
Yes.
Of course it's going to do well at a film festival because it's not hitting a wider audience. They didn't have to market it the same way that they did throughout. And they did a phenomenal job at marketing it until they
started showing up.
They got right to the 1 yard line and fumbled that ball so bad that there was no coming back for me.
I saw clips of the actors when they were doing like panels and everything after, like years after, and they were saying, when we would go out and do press tours, some people didn't believe that they were really them. They thought that they were actors and that Josh, Heather, and Mike was still lost out in the woods somewhere.
Which to me is hilarious because years later, we look at the way the internet works now, and people believe the craziest shit when it's clearly proven wrong. Mm-hmm. So it's, we can take a simple example. People are controlling the weather. Well, there is cloud seeding, so that it make it rain in areas where they're not getting enough water.
Right.
That's legit. But being able to control the direction of a storm,
A hurricane.
trust me, if we could do that, we wouldn't get hit with storms.
No.
So that's why I say, like, people believe the craziest shit.
Yes, and
Now,
why? I mean, you say people are stupid. Some people are stupid, but you take it with a grain of salt.
yeah, but I want to move off this topic because we have really dragged. Now, did you guys both watch the latest episodes of Agatha All Along?
The one that came out yesterday?
The one that came out last night?
No, I saw the one before that.
Okay, so Jimmy, did you?
I'm up to par.
You're up to par. All right, so I have to talk about it.
Talk about it.
So we're going to go into spoilers, so I'm just letting everyone know right off the bat. I wasn't going to give spoilers for, like, a spoiler warning for the Blair Witch Project because if you haven't seen... Yeah, you haven't seen...
Yeah, no, you got your shit out of luck, sorry.
Yeah, you don't need a spoiler warning for that. But now, Agatha All Along, the Witch's Road, the trials have been phenomenal.
Yes.
Crazy.
And now you saw the episode before, you saw episode 5.
Yes.
So episode 5, episode 6 is supposedly like the midpoint.
Now, I heard they're doing 10 episodes.
It looks like it's going to be like 10 episodes.
8 to 10.
So this is going to keep going. I think there's like 4 more episodes left.
At least.
So, but to see like everything going on and like now having like the demon incident, and now we just lost. Now by the end of that episode, it's like, oh, she's dead. And what happens? Oh, the teen now shows he actually has powers.
Right.
Controls, throws Agatha into the mud, and now they pick up. But the next episode, which you didn't see yet, is a flashback. So it actually is teen's backstory.
Okay, which is okay because, fine. You kind of put 2 and 2 together when you saw him wearing like the same crown that Wanda had on.
Yeah, he's wearing the Wiccan kind of costume crown, but also we know it's supposed to be Wiccan at this point. But how is it Wiccan?
Right.
And this is where the explanation comes in.
Which is fine.
So we find out that he's Billy Kaplan, a Jewish kid having his bar mitzvah, and they're in the a town over from
Westview.
Westview. Yeah, they're in Eastview. He's like so Westview, and they claim that the event that took place was an Avengers training project gone wrong.
Yep.
So that's their standard for when something goes wrong.
Blame it on the Avengers.
Yeah, it's a Marvel it's an Avengers training
exercise.
Yeah. So, but you see at the bar mitzvah, he goes. There's Patti LuPone as a fortune teller, and she gives him a little talisman that he doesn't even know that he's gotten, that she writes the sigil on.
Okay.
So Patti LuPone knows there's something off because you see her character keeps going back and forth. She's not really in one time frame. So you get to see her at this kid's bar mitzvah, and then as they're all leaving because the whole thing with Wanda's hitting its final episode point. So now they're all leaving. The dome around Westview went, and it's starting to expand and shrink and like go off. They end up getting into a car accident.
Okay.
So Billy Kaplan dies.
And who's the police officer?
Yeah, the police officer.
Agatha.
No,
No.
Who?
it's actually the other witch that just passed that they killed. I forget her name.
Yeah.
It's like some of these witches. It's hard for me to remember their names. The one whose mother was the singer.
Okay.
That wrote The Witch's Road.
Yep.
That album comes up in the...
Yeah, he's listening to the album later, so he's listening to the song The Witch's Road. But she's the cop that's there on the scene, and he wakes up, but he had died in the car accident. So
Alice.
Billy Maximoff his spirit is now inhabiting Billy Kaplan's body.
Okay.
So he's in the hospital. He can hear his like parents' thoughts and stuff. And it's like he's confused. He's trying to figure it out. He finally figures out who he is because tells his boyfriend who he is, like that, and they go and we get Ralph Boner.
Boners to bone.
Yeah, Boner comes back.
Boner.
Because he found him online as somebody who remembers everything from the Westville incident and is willing to talk to him. He is we thought he was weird and it was just a regular Boner joke. Mm-hmm. No, they took it to another level. He meets him at
They took the Boner to another level?
Yeah.
Yes.
They go into a parking garage and he's actually like covering up the camera lenses and stuff to hide that he's there and talking to him. And he can read his mind. So he's able to read. He's like, don't ask about Agatha. Don't ask about Agatha. She basically has his house. He left. So when this kid decides to go to Agatha, she's wearing, because we don't see we see her in her detective thing.
Right.
So she's still in like
detective mode.
Yeah. But that's not what we're seeing. So she's like, he's not in the illusion really.
Right.
So when he breaks into this illusion, it's like you see she's wearing a Boner family reunion pitch a tent shirt. So she's in his house, the whole thing. He says Wanda basically was controlling everybody's minds. They were watching everything. He feels bad for what he did to the kids and what Agatha had him do to that poor dog. Mm-hmm. So it really is like they went through, you figure they brought him back in. So Aaron Peters comes back. So they're really going through like trying to get all the deepest cuts. Because you've already had two of the witches in the coven. You have Agatha, where now he's like trying to break the spell on Agatha. You had Boner pop up. And as he was running, though, yes, I know. I got to make the Boner jokes when I can on this one. So, but as Billy's running away, Teen's running away from the house, he goes and gets hit by the door of the car from Deborah Jo Rupp. So Mrs. Hart basically stopped him. And that's how he ends up in the tied up in the closet with Agatha. He broke the spell. Agatha basically goes, and now it leads us back into everything. And they ended off with Agatha talking to him, revealing she had an idea of who he was. And she's trying to figure out what he wants at the end of the Witch's Road. Okay. So it almost seems like it's a restart of them going and having to start because they failed the trial for the test for Agatha in the 80s cabin.
Yes.
And the 80s cabin looked awesome, I have to say. It
gave me that Monster Squad vibe.
It had like Monster Squad, but also like one of the old school like Slumber Party kind of movies. So it was great to see like the costume changes and stuff, but Agatha pulled herself out of like that like quicksand mud pit. Like she digs out.
She digs out, everybody else.
Her and Teen are walking off on their own, and even he's like, I'm not that nice.
So do you think the other two are going to pop back up, or they're gone?
I think they may bring back Patty LaPone and the other one. I don't know if they're going to bring back the one that died, but because and this entire time we still have not seen Aubrey Plaza's Green Witch.
I think they were teasing that she might be an incarnation of Mephisto.
Actually, she's, from what they've been alluding to, she's actually Death. So she's supposed to be Lady Death. Okay. Which would actually be really cool to have Aubrey Plaza as Lady Death, because we've already lost Thanos. Yep. But we have Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. So it would be kind of cool to see Lady Death and Deadpool together.
When they did Deadpool 2 and they killed what's her name?
Morna Bach.
Yeah. When they killed her, I thought, okay, maybe she's going to become Lady Death, and that's how they're going to keep her around.
It was a shame for Deadpool 3 that we didn't get Zazie Beetz back as Domino. Yeah. Like, we got no Domino, we got no Cable.
No Cable.
But,
it's still,
it was still a great movie.
For what it was, it worked.
I just wish we could get it an extended director's cut with those, where if they could get them back and have them in there.
Well, supposedly they were like, you're supposed to see Nick Cage back as
Ghost Rider. Yeah, there was supposed to be a bunch of cameos,
Yeah.
but they said it was getting way too expensive.
Yeah.
I'm like, this was the movie that was going to make Disney a shitload of money.
I still like the joke they had in the beginning when he's talking to Happy. He goes, "Oh, he doesn't do this. What, cameos? No, interviews."
Yeah. Yeah, but no, it was the cameos. But no, and that's the thing. We've gotten like so much stuff that's gone on in Agatha All Along that it's like, I can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah.
Because now we know why Billy Kaplan / Billy Maximoff is on the Witch's Road. He's looking for his brother Tommy's soul because he believes it's out there somewhere and it's missing.
Now, were the kids? I always thought that the kids from WandaVision, she just made them up.
No.
No.
Basically, from their background in the comics, they were parts of Mephisto that she took from him, and they gained sentience.
Okay.
So when she created everything and then it all fell apart, basically the souls were supposed to kind of go back to Mephisto, but they inhabited other souls. That's why when you look at Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, you actually have one of the statues that's in the background
Where?
is of Wiccan at the temple.
Yeah.
Like you do, like there is the carving of Wiccan. So he is another like essential being to the Marvel universe. And the character was always gay to begin with anyway, so it really doesn't matter
Yeah.
that it's like, oh, everybody wants to be like, it's like,
But you know what?
come on.
That wasn't a focal point to this character,
No.
so I really didn't give a shit.
But the fact that he's now going, and it becomes a little more because he has the boyfriend and everything in the latest
But
episode.
that didn't make it.
Yeah.
Like they fine. They waited to the 5th episode. They didn't make it like the
sixth.
focal point. Whatever. They didn't make it the focal point.
Yeah. And
You know?
besides, you can tell the character was going to be gay no matter what anyway.
Yeah.
But they did go and like they've explained a lot of the backstory, but now it's the two kids are basically like, that's why Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, she had the kids in other timelines.
Right.
But the funny thing is, Wanda's not supposed to be in other timelines. She's a Nexus being. Nexus beings exist in all different universes at the same time, kind of like Molecule Man. Or if you look at it from the DC universe, Darkseid. Darkseid and the New Gods, they are multiversal beings. They're in that one version of them is in every version of the multiverse. So they're literally like on the outside of each of the multiverses, going in and out of every single one.
Yeah.
Right.
So that character doesn't change throughout all of them. It's always going to be. Wanda's power was just basically like, this happens in one timeline, well, it doesn't happen in the other, so I change it over into another timeline. So it's just basically like she was more adjusting timelines in the comics. That's why no more mutants. And they're saying that right now the rumor is Wanda will be back in as kind of as what seems to be like she's going to be with Doctor Doom.
Well, it kind of makes sense because when she first came out, she was with Magneto.
Yeah.
You don't have.
Well, in the comics.
In the comic book, she was bad when she first came out.
Yeah.
So you don't have Magneto in the Marvel Universe right now, so let's team her up with...
But they've also changed up so many of the timelines when it comes to this stuff, because Wanda was with Doctor Doom in the comics for a period of time. It's the same way, like most people forget, Rogue was with Magneto for a period of time, which they did show in X-Men 97.
And they also, Hawkeye was with the Scarlet Witch
Yeah.
in the comics. So
I think they had she's had a lot of different romantic relationships throughout the comics.
so was Black Widow.
Yeah. That's how that just usually falls. But so far, everything they've been doing with Agatha All Along has been on point. I love what they're doing. They even have like the images of her where like you see an old photo of her and Catherine Hahn in like the older like style for Agatha.
Salem-esque.
It kind of reminds me of what just a slightly younger looking version of what she is in the comics, where she was basically Franklin Richards' nanny.
Yes.
So she has her ties to the Fantastic Four. Now, I do have some news on a different topic that I don't know if you heard about yet. We will be getting a tour, and it's coming out on DVD, like Blu-ray and 4K DVDs, because it's no longer in Harvey Weinstein's hands. Dogma.
Dogma.
Yes.
Yeah. He finally got the rights back.
Well, he didn't get the rights back,
So,
but
yeah.
he's going to work with the company that did get the rights.
Yep.
So that'll finally be available, because I know a lot of people have been complaining it's not on any streaming platform.
Right, he didn't want to give them any more money.
Yeah, but the thing is, Weinstein had the rights. He could have kept doing it. Smith wouldn't have had any say.
Right.
But now it's like, at least it's going to get back out there.
Yeah.
So at least the actors will be able to get their royalties.
Yeah. Speaking of, keep going.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to jump back on the Blair Witch for a minute. The three of them are actually fighting now with SAG to get royalties from the Blair Witch.
They didn't have it in their contract before?
They weren't SAG actors. This was an independent film.
Okay.
They weren't under the union at that point in time.
So I don't know if they'd really be eligible at that point, because it's an independent movie you're doing it outside of. That's where things become like a
Yeah.
very gray area.
Yeah. They got to talk to the nanny.
Yeah. The thing is, they have to talk to Fran Drescher, who's in charge, which the video game industry still has a strike going on, because the voice actors are not working with the video game industries. There's a bunch of the companies that don't want to keep them protected from AI use.
And all
Yeah.
that, they're pushing games back because Assassin's Creed is now pushed to February.
Well, you know what? Assassin's Creed, though, it took some heat, because for some people got upset because it's a female assassin, because you have a Kunoichi, a female ninja, and then you also have Yasuke, a black samurai, which was actually a thing in history. So the fact that people got all upset about it is ridiculous as far as I'm concerned.
A, it's a fucking video game. B, do you want to keep playing as the same character over and over and over again?
Yeah.
No, change it up a bit.
And besides,
That's why they went to different genres.
yeah, but also playing a different era and doing an Assassin's Creed game in Japan, what do you think is going to be there? You'd be playing as a samurai one way or another.
Yeah.
And they found the samurai that doesn't look like every other samurai, because it's historically accurate.
Yep.
So that's the thing. It's, we've had a lot of stuff that's taken place recently, and I'm pretty glad to hear, Dogma was the big news that I was happy. I wanted to spring that on you later in the episode. I didn't want to do it early on.
I heard something about it. I didn't read too much into it.
Yeah, because I know you're not on TikTok. No. And the thing is, there's been a lot of the TikTok videos from Kevin Smith, from interviews and stuff, and him talking about now that he's going to be working with them to be able to release it.
It's going to be very big for it.
Yeah. And now, just in case anybody wants to know, because Mike talked about it, and it's not part of our spooky season thing, but I do want to say that on Amazon Prime, it is available for rental, the 4:30 movie.
Yes.
So it is available for rental.
Which isn't a bad film.
No, listen,
It's a good Saturday. If you got time to kill on a shitty afternoon, watch it.
Yeah, I just I don't want to push it too much right now, but once it becomes more readily available, we will do a full discussion on it. But right now, I want to keep us still in the spooky season mode. And that's the thing. Right now, we're getting ready. We'll have one more spooky season episode, because on the time of our next recording, it'll be All Saints Day, basically. Yeah. Because it'll be after 1st. Halloween. And that'll be our final wrap-up for spooky season. So in the meantime, though, I know we're going to have to find something else to talk about, but hopefully we can actually talk about the New Salem's Lot, because I did watch it, and it is worth a watch. And it's one of those things where they took the sparkly away from the vampires. So it's not like, oh, they're sexy vampires, or they're the pretty vampires.
Yeah, no, they're what vampires should be.
Yeah, they went back to being vampires. So it's something that I feel like would be a good final round movie for, especially because it is a newer movie and it's available on Max. So if anyone would like to watch it and they want to email us their opinions on it for our final episode of spooky season, you can email us at dragoonslayerpodcast@gmail.com. It's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslayerpodcast@gmail.com. Needed to get one more in there before we wrap things up. So, Jimmy, you want to give everybody the socials?
Absolutely. You can reach me at Snapchat, James SI0925, all lowercase. Instagram and Threads, James H _ the fourth. Facebook, James Haynes the fourth. TikTok, James0925. Special shout out to Mike Schwartz, our Armored comic book follower. He's going to be at Comic-Con this weekend. I know probably Sunday while you hear this. Go visit him at his comic book little kiosk there and get the book signed.
All right. Now, Mike, you're going to be at Comic-Con at least one day, right?
Yes, I'm going on Saturday.
And are you going to be in costume so people can look for you?
Yes, I'm actually going as an amalgamation.
So you're going as an amalgam comic character.
No, I'm not an amalgam comic character. I was going as my own amalgamation character. I'm
Okay.
going as, right now, it's Captain Winterpool. It might be, hang on, it might be Captain Winterpool Walker, but as of right now, it's Captain Winterpool.
All right. Okay. So make sure you let everyone know on the Facebook page and the Instagram page. So if anybody wants to find you and take photos with you at Comic-Con, because you are one of those people that actually likes getting your photo taken with people.
And you'll get a free Dragoons.
No, don't. We don't have enough. We can't keep pushing that. So,
well, how many you got left?
I haven't put any out yet. I'll see one for Comic-Con.
Yeah, but we still I still need to make sure, because while he's doing that, and then the following week he'll be at Chiller Theater, but you won't be at Chiller Theater in costume.
No, actually, I might, because I just found out that they are doing a costume contest.
They usually do on Saturdays.
Yeah, and I figured, what the hell?
Okay,
Captain Winterpool Walker.
Why not?
There you go.
I might wear the lightsaber to make it the Walker. So
there you go. So if anybody wants to go and see Mike, you can find him, and it'll probably be up both on Saturdays.
Yeah, I'm going this Saturday to.
They won't. Yeah, this episode will be out on Sunday.
Sunday, so it's the Saturday after. It'll be on the 19th.
Yep.
That I'm going to Comic-Con, and the following Saturday, the 26th. Let me just check.
Yeah, Saturday the 26th is Chiller. Because the same weekend that you're at Chiller, I will be at Exotica. And if anyone wants to find me, I will not be in costume. But you can go and say hello. I don't bite.
Hard.
Well, unless you piss me off.
Yeah.
But pull a little of Tyson on Holyfield and take off your ear. It was a one-time thing. It won't happen again.
Yeah, Holyfield's lucky.
It was one-time thing.
Mike just got out of prison, so Holyfield's lucky he didn't fuck him.
Well, he fucked him up.
Fucked him up. I'm not talking about fucking him up.
No, he knew he was losing. That's why he fucked. He had to
chomp out of him.
Yeah, he knew. It's like he had to keep headbutting him, so he would. So we've got that fight that we're definitely going to be discussing in November.
When is that fight? The 16th?
In November, yeah.
Yep.
Oh shit. The 16th?
I think.
I hope not.
Why? It's on Netflix.
Doesn't matter. If it's on the 16th, I have a fucking playoff game that night. I don't know why it's on a Saturday when I'm on a weeknight.
Yeah, but it's on Netflix, so hopefully you should be able to replay it afterwards.
Yeah.
Skip all the fanfare and all of Paul's boasting and shit, and just watch him get knocked on his ass.
Okay. Oh, okay, good. It's on the 15th. It's on that Friday.
All right, so
even better.
Yeah, we'll definitely be discussing the Tyson Paul fight, because why would we not want to talk about that? That we don't really hit sports too much, but this is definitely
one of them.
No, this is an event. This is an entertainment event. So, Mike, how can everybody get in touch with you, though?
You can hit me up on Facebook. You can find me at Michael Schiavo. You can find me on Hamster Pillow Productions, both on Facebook. If you want to hit up the podcast, you can find us on Facebook at the Dragoons Lair Podcast. Also on Instagram at, oddly enough, the Dragoons Lair Podcast.
And before I give mine, I want to just thank once again Danielle for being on the show again and doing a tarot reading. I found it pretty insightful, yes. Mike, as a skeptic.
As a skeptic, I mean, some of the things she was saying, I was like, other stuff, I was like, okay, well, this could mean this could mean that, because I do have a couple of things in the works, and I was like, okay,
yeah,
I should follow my instincts a little bit more.
Yeah, there were things that resonated for me with that reading. So it's Jimmy. So it's we had it was definitely interesting.
Interesting.
And if
I wouldn't
anybody
mind having her back and doing something else.
Oh yeah, well
she's already our Bridgerton person.
yeah, but she also went. We could have done a more in-depth reading.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she was under a time constraint because
so
she's going to be
show.
at the Little Victory Theater doing Dial M for Murder.
Dial M for Murder at the Little Victory Theater. It opens next Friday, and it's next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
25th, 6th, and 7th.
And then the following
First, second, and third.
first, second, and third. The Friday shows are at 8. Saturday shows are at 8. Sundays are at 2. You can get tickets at showtixforyou.com, I believe, or you can email or call the Little Victory Theater for tickets. They are still available, but they are going fast.
Yep. And if anybody wants to find me, it's very easy. It's Blue Dragoon 13. TikTok, Instagram, Threads, YouTube channel is Blue Dragoon 13. You can also go to my Twitch channel, which will have the link to the Discord page. You can join the Discord community because Blue Dragoon 13, it's not that difficult to remember. Just remember, you're spelling it with 2 O's.
That's it.
Yep.
I have one more announcement, and it's not political, but we want to remind everybody, starting the 26th is early voting. By then, if you haven't registered to vote and you want to give an opinion and everything, register. That's it.
Listen, the only thing I'm going to say politically wise on that one is something that Phil DeFranco on his YouTube channel has said before, and he has merchandise for. You may not fuck with politics, but politics will fuck with you. Mm-hmm. So if you feel strongly about something, learn what the facts are and just go out there and vote for who you feel is going to represent you the best. We're not going to tell you who to vote for, but we will say if you don't vote, you don't really have a place to bitch and complain.
That's right.
Because you didn't exercise your option, so you're going to take whatever you can get anyway. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on all of the socials, but also I'm making sure that from this point on, Spotify will be all video episodes. So the video episodes will be available on Spotify first. A week later, you will get the video on YouTube, but all the audio versions will be available on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Podcast, and any of your other podcasting platforms. So we will be found readily available. But if you want to be able to see the video episodes first, you got to sign up for the Spotify page. Make sure you follow us. Follow on YouTube so you get all the latest notifications on when the latest episodes drop. You'll also find out when some of the shorts drop before the episode does air on YouTube. So with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. This is one of our second to last spooky season episode. Make sure you find us at our conventions. Mike is definitely one you're going to want to probably get a photo with because I highly doubt you're going to see that costume anywhere else. It's a Mike original.
I have the Winter Soldier jacket with the Winter Soldier arm. I'm borrowing my brother's nice Captain America shield. I'm probably be wearing a lightsaber. I haven't decided yet. And I will be wearing a pretty cool Deadpool mask because I have a cool Deadpool mask. I just don't have a cool Deadpool costume to go with it.
Because they're expensive as hell?
They are expensive as hell. I think I spent like $50 on the mask.
Yeah, the mask is nice. Doable, but the costume, and I don't think you want the Zenny suit.
Nah, fuck no. You trust me, you don't want me in a Zenny suit.
No, we really don't. No. But this is going to be an original costume, pretty much idea from yourself. The lightsaber now, is this a toy lightsaber or is this the one that I made?
No, this is actually, it's not the one that you made because I can't hook it up to the hilt.
Okay.
Like to the belt that I have. I got this years ago. I don't even think the website is around anymore.
Nah, probably not.
It's not Lucasfilm licensed.
Yeah.
But it looks like
it's one of the off-brand.
One of the off-brands. It looks like Luke's saber from Empire, I believe.
All right.
Like the black ribs around the handle.
All right, so
Yeah.
you'll either have the lightsaber or you
I'll
won't.
either be Captain Winterpool or Captain Winterpool Walker.
There you
If
go.
I have the saber, it's Walker. If not, it's just Winterpool.
Yeah, so make sure you find Mike at the convention. Hound him. Get your photos with him while you can, because if you don't, you may never see that costume again. I'm sure he'll bring it back again.
Unless you go to Chile the following week.
Well, that's why I'm saying, if they don't see it at one and they don't see it at the other one, then they may never see it again.
I doubt it, but you'll probably see it again.
Probably.
Probably.
With that
That's how you
being
know
said,
the costume.
you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Get out.
Later.
Peace.